Hi everyone. So in this second video, I'm going to show how it is that you can actually make adjustments to the SketchUp models in order to make sure that they work better in out-of-the-park baseball. And so this is another model that I was asked by ALP to take a look at. This is Ed Smith Ballpark, which used to be the home of the Reds for spring training. And so you'll notice as we load it in, there's something that is obviously challenging with this, is that there is no field in it right now. There's also no place for the bullpens. But one other thing that you'll see if you get down close is that right now the stands just connect directly to the field. If you were to load this into out of the park, it would just look kind of weird to have people sitting right on the ground. And so what I'm going to do is I'm first going to add in a field and a bullpen to show you how it is that we can do that. And then after that, I'm going to go through and show how it is that we can add a wall or kind of make an adjustment to that stadium in order to make sure that it looks better when we're in game. So one of the things that's really useful in SketchUp is that if you have a blank space that is already surrounded by a container of some kind, if you just take the pencil tool and draw along a part of the edge, it should then pop up the something to kind of fill in the space, as you can see right there, right? And so the same thing can be done out here in the bullpen. And so we now have a field that we could then put our infield on. So if I'm going to do that, the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take the offset tool and actually pull in my infield by about 10 feet so that I have the warning track in place. And then if you go to the 3D warehouse and look for components for use in out-of-the-park baseball, I've actually put together a bunch of models that you can load directly into the game. It's picnic tables and lights and trees and other things that we often use in the background in apartment building. But the most important ones is that there are bullpens and that there are MLB infields in here so that you don't have to recreate those from scratch. So thank you to Eric, Jeff, and Sylvan. I stole a bunch of your components and put them in here. But yeah, this is a tool to hopefully be helpful as you're looking to add things in and not having to build super complicated models. So I'm going to load this directly into my model. And then I'm going to place my home plate right on the axis. There we go. And then when I explode it, you'll notice that the infield is going to disappear. Again, I just do kind of the same thing that we did before, where you take a line, draw it, and it's back. And so then what you can do is add lines going all the way to the foul pole. And we're off a little bit, but we're just going to call this good and draw a line. There we go. So I'm not actually loading this into OOTP. If I was, I'd make it a little bit more exact. So we're going to do there. And then we'll come over here. Do that. Do that. And then I'm just going to show you how to use the color picker, fill in the lines. And if I were actually going to load this into the game, I'd want to make sure that I paint both sides, but I'm not doing that. So instead, I'm just going to do this. Now, I'm going to do the same thing with the warning track, where I'm going to come up here and then pick the Sand Smooth 1, and then pick both sides of the line and insert the grass. So just like that, I have now built a field where there didn't used to be one. As I pointed out before, you'll notice that over here just kind of directly connects to the ground. And as we know, at baseball stadiums, there is actually a barrier between the fans and the stadium, or the fans and the field. if we're not playing in the 1890s. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new shape that I'm going to insert in that I could then paint over and use to replace what we have going on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a line that goes up 4 feet. And so you'll notice then that as I come down, I have this little thing right here that shows me that's at the 4-foot point. And so that's going to be the height of my wall. In my stadiums, I often make the infield walls between 4 and 6 feet. I know they're not that short in real life, but they look fine in game. I've also found that if I can go out about 6 inches, again, not as thick as they actually are in real life, but it ends up looking relatively realistic in game. So I can then draw up my line, and you'll notice that when I get to 4 feet, it has a connecting line that shows up. Again, super helpful thing. Took me a while to figure out that I could do it that way. But that is a way that you can make sure you're always kind of drawing straight lines. So I'm going to go from there to there, and now you'll notice we have our little box. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and draw it so that it connects with that point. And so what has happened now is that I have created a shape that when it comes up is going to end up looking like there is an actual wall that is going to go all the way around with a kind of slight rise that we can then paint the attendance textures on that I showed you in the previous video. So what I'm going to next do is make sure that I select all of the lines that I'm going to want this to follow. So it's going to follow the entirety of the grandstand. So I'm going to keep bouncing up and down. So sorry for the motion sickness that this is about to cause. You want to make sure that you select all of the lines, because if you don't, it'll end up bouncing back on you and you'll have to do this whole process all over again. And so if I screw this up, there will be a break, and I'll come back and just show you what it looks like when it's finished, because you don't need to see this process play out a second time. I definitely don't want to see it play out a second time. So yeah, but I hope that these kinds of tools and tips are going to be helpful for those of you that are looking for kind of an easy on-ramp to getting into doing SketchUp models. Like I said in the board, this is a lot of fun and pretty addicting, although eventually you can burn out on it, which is the reason why I think that Eric Jaff Sylvan Izzet and I have all at different points kind of taken breaks and been like, I'm not doing that for a while. So, okay, so I think I selected all the lines. We're going to find out if this works. So I'm going to press the Follow Me tool because that is going to cause the shape to follow the line. So we're going to do that. And you'll notice that we now have a brand new white thing that we're going to be able, or the light side is facing up on our new component. So we're going to be able to go through and paint that with the attendance textures. It'll show up better in game. You can also come down here to where the line is, press delete, and it then you'll notice automatically fills in the rest of that for you. And we now have something that's a little bit more realistic. Now you'll also notice that over here, there are some points where the old texture is kind of breaking through, right? And this happens a lot when you're dealing with models other people have made. There are adjustments you're going to need to make in order to make sure they work for you. All you want to do is carefully kind of go through and pick the lines that you need to delete in order to remove those specific components. And then it doesn't show up anymore. The other thing that you can do, if you want, is to click on the specific sections that the old pieces you're getting rid of are under. You can then press Hide and just go through and delete the lines individually to make sure that they're not going to show up in your game. And you want to make sure you don't accidentally delete the lines for what you have just inserted. Okay, and so then once that's done, you want to go to Edit, Unhide All. You can see that I accidentally deleted the wrong lines at some point over here, I think. So I'm going to redraw lines in order to make sure that they come back. And bam! You now have new stands that are in place of the old one that you can use that'll look a little bit better. So those are a couple of tips about how it is that you go about inserting into blank spaces, or if you prefer redrawing or redoing parts of stadiums that other folks have done that just aren't working for you.